Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. This says a conversation with Adam Lawson. He didn't show, so I didn't want to just not do anything. So I'm gonna do a what you're reading video. I understand if people are disappointed. I'll change the title later. Maybe Adam will still show up, but the show must go on. So these are comics that I've read since the last time I've done a what you're reading. If anybody wants to come in and talk, I got an open slot. You want to talk comics? Oscar always makes me happy to see the trailer. Yeah, I love that trailer. That trailer just is so good. The trailer is so good. For those of you who are watching, Oscar and I just did Oscar just did art with Oscar, where he's at the beginning for anybody who wants to learn to draw the basics. It's just so much fun. But anyway, I do a 7 o'clock show, whether somebody shows up or not. So I hope Adam is well. Time zones. Maybe we just got the time zones mixed up. But anyway, this is Unbreakable Argonauts from Argonaut Comics. This is by Ashley Land, and I think Marcus, who's going to be with us at 8:30 for it's clobber time. He's doing I think a cover for his issue 2. But this was his first comic, and he's inspired by like pulp heroes. So this has got like like an old pulpy World War II kind of superhero feel to it, and I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it. The art, it just fit the time, the time period. It did have a pulpy feel. I mean, look at these superhero designs. These are right up my alley. This you don't need to see a dirty napkin that I just wiped my nose with. Just they look good. The Raven over here, just so cool. Captain Thunder in the back, just great superhero designs. I really do like it. It was good. It was good. I give it one of my highest recommendations. I think it's still available. Oh, Marcus says I do a cover for a pulp magazine Ashley is doing. Yeah. Yep. I think it's set in the same zone. So here's the next bunch of stuff that I read. So I'll just put all of them. This is Beyond Real. This was a comic by Vault Comics. And I get my comics from a discount comic book service. I put it in order, and then once a month I get a box of comics. Well, 1 month I got 2 copies of Beyond Real #1. I didn't order them, and a couple of people asked me, "Did you get these comics too?" I was like, "Yeah." So I think that this Vault, it was just doing a publicity stunt. I think they just printed up like 200,000 copies of issue #1 and just gave it away to free to everybody, to drum up interest, to tell advertisers, look, we did 200,000 copies or whatever. This is my guess. And I read issue #1 because I'm a crazy person. If I get a comic book, I have to read it. And I kept putting it off, and then I looked it up. It was only 5-issue miniseries, so I was like, all right. So I got issue #1, and it was about like drug use and people hallucinating and seeing like the machine elves beyond reality, and I was kind of intrigued by it. So I was like, all right, what the hell? So they gave me #1. The first hit was free, and then I got 2, 3, and 4, and I was a little disappointed. It was like, I don't want to say woke because that's like just dangerous, anything with a female, but it was like walking along the precipice of woke, and it was like, I don't know. The first issue set up a really good premise that I just wasn't too crazy about. The art was good. The coloring was phenomenal, but I wasn't too crazy about it. This is the next thing I read this week. I've been cataloging my collection, which I need to get back to do. Marcus, you'll enjoy that. I'll start doing those videos again. I take out boxes, I scan them, and then I do a little short video of what's in each box. I'm up to box 54. I got to continue with 54. But anyway, I've been writing down what I've been missing. So I got 1 and 2 of this Damage Control series. So I got 2 and 3. I finally read them. It was just bad. It was Damage Control, the movie. So they went to see the movie made by Damage Control. Meanwhile, there was a Edifice Rex. It was humor. Of course, now I got to sneeze. But it was a humor book, and Marvel Comics, their humor is never that good. So it was all right. So what is this over here? Oh, okay. I had to get the last issue of Brigade, the miniseries, Fatal Finale. How horrible is that? Just look at that art. It's just awful. Reading these comics is the same as not reading them. There's no story. Just fans of Liefeld art. Why? Look at this. I always say that Liefeld could draw as good as the worst guy in as good as the best guy in your class. And here we go.
Hey, sorry there, buddy. Sometimes this crazy commercial world, it gets the better of you. Thanks.
Okay, I figured the time zones mess things up.
Yeah. Hey, it's freaking awesome to be back here with you, John.
Okay, so I don't have to change the title. I was just talking about old comics. Let me ask you this, because since I was talking nonsense, talking trash. Let's do this. What do you think of that?
I love that image. I remember buying that comic.
You love this? Oh,
yeah.
It's a good thing your camera wasn't on then, because I was just saying, look at this. This is just the bad perspective. Look how tiny the head. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Liefeld.
Isn't that kind of like part of it's because of the shrunken head? It makes the shoulders look huge, right?
And look at that tiny fist.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess what I would say is it's a caricatured look, and I love James Herron artwork, who does like distorted proportions, right? And don't you think that's kind of fun to have some like slightly distorted proportions that make things look extreme, like the Hulk, but maybe not.
Okay, so I'm gonna remove this, and then we'll talk comics and everything. So Oscar Corretto, he loves the review that you did of Rome Eternal. Oscar.
Yes, Rome Eternal. John, did you pick this book up? You went silent, John.
I removed my extra camera because I didn't need it in my face, and I went silent. Yeah, I got Rome Eternal. It was great. It was so good.
Well, I mean, I feel like Magma Comics is one of those new publishers that is pumping out books that are really incredible, right? Like Night of the Slashers was so great. Rome Eternal was great. It's really doing stuff that's like that I love, right? Like it's not caped Crusaders. It's either horror or like Rome Eternal, where it's like this wild fictional retelling of Rome, right? In this sci-fi, but ancient.
Right. I said it's Rome meets Jack Kirby and Mobius.
That's exactly right. That you hit it exactly on the head. Mobius meets the ancient times. I'm such a Mobius fan. I mean, I think about Inkle, one of my favorite books, and how like him and Jodorowsky, what they kind of built together. I mean, I still think what him and Jimenez built together in Meta Barons might be still a notch up, but what do you think?
I got the first issue because Oscar sent me a digital copy of it like a couple of months before it came out, because Oscar and I are working on a comic, and Oscar does the color for that. So he was like, check this out. I love this coloring, and I have a degree in Roman history, so I was just like, I was predisposed to like it.
Okay.
And then Homero, the writer, came on my channel, and we talked too, and I just absolutely loved it. Yeah, I got stacks of Roman books right over here.
Did you read this one by Mary Beard, SPQR?
Okay.
This was amazing. If that's your degree, it's obviously that was sort of the SPQR, right? Is the Roman citizenry, and like what an amazing ride. I'm that, because I just finished that book when I saw Rome Eternal on the shelf, so I was like, I'm in.
Yeah. At work, I'm relisted. I got the audiobook of the Decline of Western Civilization by Gibbons. It's all about, and so I'm at work drilling and cutting, listening to that. You know what I mean? Just to, because I feel like I'm forgetting my all the stuff I learned in school. Because how often do you? And that for my comic book, The Patriarch,
like that's kind of the joke. It's like men always think of the Roman Empire. Remember that meme from a couple of months ago?
Yeah,
So I was like, yeah, my character is inspired by the Roman Empire. So
that's right. Did you read this, John? This one,
No.
Arcadia and the Lost Titan.
No.
This is another. So imagine Kaza, Mobius, Jimenez was the founders of Metal Hurlant, right? Which was what was the French version, which became heavy metal in the U.S. when it translated over. So he's one of the original French comic book artists, who I think are just some of the greatest to have ever done it, right? And this book is, it's this 500-page epic. This is the crowdfunding book. It's this oversized,
How do you get it?
I got it on crowdfunding through their Kickstarter campaign. I don't know if you can get the book anymore. It's Humanoids, so I'm assuming it's on their site. You know what I mean? Because Humanoids is the U.S. version of the French company, of the same name but in French. I mean, this thing is just I've been reading it at nights. And it's like I just sit down and I'm just lost in it. It's so.
I just to remind myself, I just sent you a message on Twitter, Kaza, so you've warned so I could see it later and look it up, see if I can pick it up. Like I need to buy another $500 graphic novel, but
no, 500 pages, not $500.
Yeah, I know.
But it's $80. It's just these. When you think about these pages, he wrote, he drew it, he colored it. You start to think about the scope of that skill set, and you're like, it's a little humbling. Right. To think that like, not only are you the finest artist and finest colorist, but you're also an amazing writer and storyteller, and you lettered it. So like, I don't know how it's like Barry Windsor Smith, who I think is the greatest that Marvel's ever had in their camp. I think Weapon X is the best Marvel book of all time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the single best book that Marvel's made. And if you Barry Windsor's Monsters did you read this one?
No.
So Barry Windsor Smith, same thing. He's a writer, artist, colorist, letterer. So this it started out as this tale. He pitched Marvel for Hulk that they turned down, and then he spent 16 years making it. And it's just these pages that have all the heart and love of a hand-drawn work, the detail of it. Barry Windsor Smith, I think, also one of the all-time greats. It's like, and when you read one of these books, I remember the same thing too. You're sitting there reading that at night, and you're just like, I'm lost in this thing, right? It's incredible. But I have been wildly impressed with your board game collection. I remember last time when I was on, we were talking board games, and I used to have about maybe 400 plus board games. But when I started to have children, I needed to clear out some of my space in my house.
There's two deaths of hobbies. You get married, then you have children.
That's the end of them. Yes, that's correct. And so I started just selling them like stacks of 5 on eBay and on OfferUp, and just to get them out. But they were all games I'd inherited from when I was doing tabletop with Will Wheaton.
Yeah.
And but amazing games, many of them. But I'm looking at it like I got that Trudavon game, right? Like it's 6 boxes tall, and I'm like, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. That'll never happen. And so you have to kind of move on.
I spent all day playing online Marvel United, So, I just turn on the camera. There's solo rules. So, and then people in the crowd like give me advice and everything. They're like, how does this card work? Can somebody look up the rules? It was a lot of fun. But
yeah.
Have you ever played Marvel United?
No, sir, I've never played Marvel United. How is it?
It's awesome. It's my go-to superhero game.
Really?
And they just made DC United. It didn't release yet. They just did the crowdfund for it. And of course, I'm all in on that. So that picture that I just sent you of Marvel United? I'm going to have the same thing on the other side of the door with DC United. I just pray that they're compatible, that I could mix them together. Because how cool would it be to have Batman and Daredevil taking down, the Joker and Kingpin and stuff like that?
Be incredible. Be incredible.
I recommend Marvel United because you can play with kids because it's a cooperative game.
And it works with littles. Okay.
So you could be Batman and your kid could be, I don't know, Cyborg and Superman, you know what I mean? And then all you need to do is know the rules, and that each character can only do 3 things. You can either move, attack, or what they call a superheroic action. And that's basically, you got 2 choices. So it's real simple. And you play the card, and you could do all the actions on your card plus all the actions on the card before. So you all want to do teamwork. You're like, oh man, I could hit Dr. Doom, but I can't get to Dr. Doom. So if you go and play a movement card, I can use your movement action to get to Dr. Doom and hit him. But then your son goes, but I don't want to play my movement card. I want to hit Dr. Doom. And that's where the game falls apart, is a lack of cooperation. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it fun, because like everybody on their turn, they want to do the cool thing. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's a cool game. That's a cool game. Did you ever play Above and Below?
Yes, I love Ryan Lockett. I love Ryan Lockett.
Yeah, Ryan Lockett, what an amazing game maker. For those who don't know his games, they're very story narrative driven. So they come with like a booklet. And when you go into different rooms or you roll certain dice, you read a section that like sets up a narrative situation, and then you make a choice, and then you roll dice. So it's like
it's half role playing game, half board game, but
right.
You are playing a game, and you want to win.
That's right. That's right. You want to win. Yeah.
So me and you are playing. I could beat you, but we're also making a story. That's my favorite type of game. If a game tells a story, I love it. Like again, if you so inclined to watch my video of this morning, it was a Marvel Max comic. Kingpin they were going around investigating, getting clues, breaking down Kingpin. He was infiltrating the police. I was narrating a story as I was playing the game. It was so much fun. And then the Punisher climbed up onto the Brooklyn Bridge and sniped Bullseye into Queens. It was just so much fun.
See, that's amazing. And I feel like that is that storytelling element in board games, as we were talking about last time, is something that's overlooked, I think, sometimes. But the sort of the joy of that, and when you can get that layered in, I think the Arkham Asylum games do a really great job of that. Yep. And I think that they're
my buddies are coming over tomorrow, bringing his daughter. We're going to play Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, which is still my favorite board game of all time.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece. You know what? I agree with that. It's such a fabulous one. We did multiple versions of it on tabletop, and Elder Sign. Did you play that one?
Yeah, I got Elder Sign. I
like
Elder Sign is level 1.
Yeah.
Eldritch Horror is level 2, and Arkham Horror is level 3.
That's right. And what I liked so much about Elder Sign is it was like a gateway drug,
right?
So to speak. Because
it's like you're getting into the pool. You step in, your feet are cold. It's okay, I could deal with this. Then you step down and you're into Eldritch Horror. Like, okay, I get this. And then you go head first into Arkham Horror.
Exactly. What I love so much about Elder Sign is that one, of all my Arkham games, that one has by far gotten the most play, because, like you're saying, it's the level 1.
It's quick, easy to set up. It's a couple of cards on the table. You know what I mean? And it's a dice game. And everybody understands, whether they articulate it or not, they understand percentages in their head. Like if they're halfway, so okay, this is going to be a hard thing to get, so I'm going to go to this room. Whereas Arkham Horror, you're really like, oh geez, I got to do this to do this to do this. So you know what I mean? Like Eldritch Sign is this step right here.
That's right.
But Arkham Horror is like, I got to do this to do this to do this. And if you're not into board games, I think you could get very frustrated.
You're lost. Did you get this? Did you back this game here?
No, I never even heard of it.
Mothership. So this is an RPG game. This is a supplement that I backed a little bit later too. It's a horror RPG game, and it's a little nihilistic, but it's rules light. It's rules light, but rules effective.
Okay,
I would say, because it isn't maybe as like Dungeons and Dragons. It's like I call it like mid rules, right? Like where it's like there's spells and leveling up, and there's a lot of like things to track, right? With like it's kind of crunchy. Where this is lighter, so that you can get into the joy of the role playing game. But there's enough rules in it so that it isn't just like roll the dice, left or right. It really builds something, and because it has this science fiction horror world to it, it's something you don't really get to explore in RPG games. And so the stories that you get to tell in sci-fi horror, at least for me, I feel like is really something else.
Do you play role-playing games often? Do you have like a consistent group?
I had a consistent group for 4 years. We did Dungeons and Dragons. One of the guys, a lot of my good buddies were in it, guys. And it was fun because it was one of the writers on Picard was in the group with me. The voice of Ben 10 was with me there. Tons of great talent was involved in it as well too, like from just like a personal performance standpoint. So you got really like great accents and fun things thrown around the table, and it was this sort of magical, journey. We felt in a way, the group's kind of ended with the dungeon master had a child, as you mentioned. But when we run into each other and talk about it, it was like talking about when we were in Nam, you know what I mean? It's like this.
Now let me ask you this. So when you think back, because I say this to people that don't really like that, they played Dungeons and Dragons, they had a bad experience when they were 12 and they never went back, which happened a lot. Yep. But I like my friend Jimmy, and he'll be like, yeah, like remember I was on that volcano and that lava creature just like it started to erupt and that creature came at me and and I took my sword. We talk about it as if we experienced it. And I remember when I'm thinking about it, I don't remember the dice on the table. I'm thinking about it like it's either a Peter Jackson film or it's an animated movie. You know what I mean? Like I have no recollection of you and your Funyuns in your mouth telling me to roll a 16. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You're in that film. I know that there's this moment where my buddy Chris, he outsmarted this dragon in this really sort of great moment of role playing and luck and sort of great insight by him. He outsmarted him in this conversation and like genuinely was outsmarting, not just like, I try and outsmart him, roll the dice. You do outsmart him, but like he actually came up with this ingenious plan. And I still have not forgotten this moment and the way that happened. And it's just like, and when we, once again, it's like you lived it. This company, Free League, does some pretty amazing stuff. And they did an alien game, also sci-fi horror game. Amazing stuff. And then
like the movie Alien.
Yeah, the movie Alien, right? So it's a licensed property, which sometimes is can be a real miss.
Yeah.
But this is not. But really an amazing experience. And then this one, Pirate Borg. I've just read it. I haven't played it yet. It's this sort of Mork Borg. It's like another sort of compatible world because there kind of was this kind of falling out with 5th edition after Dungeons and Dragons opened it up, and then they decided, oh wait, actually we want to charge everybody. And and they would have to back pay them because they'd open up so that you could just build a game in 5e and build your own game to it. And then they decided they wanted to charge people later. That was
yeah.
So they kind of there's this rash of what was called like not D&D, right? And so there was this whole time of that, and this was one of those products. And then I crafted this game here. Sunder. I built an RPG. It's two of these books, a set of 10 minis, a novel, the whole package. Really epic art in this guy here.
You wrote this?
Yeah, myself. So I created this. And I brought in a writer to help me bring this to life as well too. Who Brian Engard, but it was myself and Brian Engard. Yeah, but we're talking 2 volumes of this. Full like Dungeons and Dragons level scope. It took 6 years to build. And I brought in Rob Schwab, who was one of the creators of 5th edition, and he brought in his game engine work on it. And so it was a full thing. So I've definitely been through the trenches in this world. Yeah.
So are you the DM or the game master or whatever you want to call it?
This they call it the keeper because you are the keeper of the secrets. Okay. It's sort of the idea. Yeah. And so, but once again, now I have children. And so that the playing of that, it used to be often, and now it's not so often. And now it's really with my nieces and nephews when we visit my family for one-off campaigns at most. Right. But it's really exciting. And we built a skirmish game actually in this world as well too. 40 minis, built the whole thing, built the tabletop simulator for it. And then I started a new commercial company and things that happened, and it had lots of great success. And so, and now I'm in the middle of courting some other publishers to help take it over. But
Oscar wants to know, do you paint the minis?
Yeah, see, now that is a different hobby, and I don't.
I don't either. I've tried
a handful of times. Mine looks so terrible. And I know if I, put some real time into it, but I'm too sad when I'm done because they look so bad that I'm like, I'm just going to not do this anymore because it's.
I won't paint any. Well, I take it back. I was just about to say I won't paint any CMON minis because they're so detailed, but I do paint CMON, Marvel United, because superheroes only have like 3 or 4 colors, and they're like chibi style. So it's, you know what I mean. It's this. They're not too detailed. So to me, Marvel United is the perfect game for people like me to paint. But I'm not going to paint a game of Fire and Ice.
No,
or Blood Rage.
Yeah, that's gonna go bad. Yeah, it's gonna go really bad.
I'm just gonna ruin a $100 game.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're gonna have that piece that you hate, and you're stuck with. I know. It's
and once you start with one piece of the game, you got to paint them all.
Right? Yeah. I know. And then you're in it, and then when it's half painted, you can't play, and so it takes you out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would paint a Hero Quest. The old Hero Quest. Those aren't too detailed.
Yeah. I agree with that. So this was so when I did a figurine for my comic book The Eighth, a 10-inch guy, right? For The Eighth, and I had Greg Aronowitz, who sculpted was one of the greatest sculptors in Hollywood. He's worked for Spielberg and Lucas, and he owed me a favor, and so he built me this 10-inch sculpted, hand-painted, beautiful thing that we sold on the campaign to sort of build, hype around it. And I remember just looking at the way him painting and crafting this sort of breathtaking thing, and I'm just like, it's always going to be miserable thinking about that. But yeah, so this is the Kill Journal, which I crowdfunded this a couple years back. This was the edition of it, where this was the campaign only edition, where it looks like all this design is based on an ancient 16th century Bible. One of those pages there on the wall is from that Bible. That became this book because in it, our story, St. George, who leads up this group of survivors, people who survived slasher attacks, he recruits them and brings them to his self-help group, when really he's just using them as bait and trying to recruit the ones who are really committed to go and hunt these guys down. And Phil and Diaz and I have been talking for a while, and thank you, Shadow Punk. And so this was, I think, at the core of me. I love slasher stories so much. Halloween is sort of deep in my heart, and so I needed to bring it to life in a world of comics, but spin it on its head, where really it's a story about trauma survivors, right? And, trauma survivors stuck in a world where they're trying to figure out how to cope with the fact that all their friends have been killed, and what do they do when they're left in the mud and in the blood. And so this was a full complete story, 132 pages. This was a rad piece that Preston Acevedo did.
Oh, cool.
And this was, this is my story. I loved this double page spread here that Jason Krager built.
Did you still get that?
What's this? Yes, you can still get this, but you can get it like this.
Okay.
So there's a soft cover version. This wasn't actually available on the campaign.
I think I backed that with your current campaign. That was an add-on, right?
Yeah, it was Psycho Slumber. Yeah, because essentially the new campaign right now is Psycho Slumber. So I've essentially taken the Kill Journal, right, and mashed it up with Phil Diaz's book, The Lost Pages. If anybody's read that, it's a crowdfunded book. So the red cover. So I printed it in China, and I had to do a big print run of it. But I got them done. I got them done for 10 USD at that time, but you can't get it that price anymore.
Oh, so it cost you 10 American dollars a book.
Yeah, I sold them for 40, but then there was also all of the art and shipping costs and etc.
Right. Yeah, it cost me $2 to print my comic. I can't sell my comic for $3. I got to pay for the art. I got to pay for the color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody in the audience understands that,
Yeah, exactly. And and the thing was, is it also too, is like you printed it in China and you had to print a large amount, and like you can't even. I tried to get it done in the US, and I can't. There wasn't even a printer who could do it.
Right.
With the embossing and the gold detailing, or it was like, yeah, they were, or the one who could do it in the US could like do a short run, but it was like $60 a book. So it's like, bro,
yeah. People
no,
are willing to pay for quality, but if you're printing it for $60 a book, what's it going to be? $100 a book to sell? That's
it takes it out of people's budgets, which is hence why manufacturing is the way it is because you have to cram so much into that number, and people aren't any richer, lo and behold. And we didn't like all of a sudden become millionaires, and so we can't afford to pay $100 for a book. And so, but I loved this detailing of this, and
it looks great. It looks like an old magic spell book or something.
That's right.
Yeah,
right?
like Lovecraft's forbidden books. Like every other story was the forbidden books. I'm banned from saying Lovecraftian, but I'm still going to reference Lovecraft.
Yeah, please. But yeah, but then this became this, which is really a story of, horror, survivors, people who have survived an attack by a slasher, getting together to go and hunt down slashers. And this group is, banded together with Crimstone and Jazz from Phil Diaz's world. And what I liked about his world with the hobo is it was based on the Book of Lost Pages. And my book was based on the Kill Journal, this priest keeping this crazy journal of all their kills, and the Kill Diary. And so like the idea of these two worlds that pulled out of these books to team up to hunt down this slasher, Simon, who is this S&M looking character who invades dreams, has a concrete saw, cuts people up, and has a very sad story of how he came to be. And he actually has a counterpoint in the real world, and he's in the dream world. And there's some really cool nuances of who this slasher is. In our world, we call them revenants. But what I like about it is that he was a sad character who became an evil character. So there's this sort of tinge of empathy. But there's also this empathy for, and then there's, he's getting revenge on people who are actually kind of lousy, but, does that really justify cutting them to pieces? And so it's this complex moral world of revenants and slashers and the survivors. And
you said you're a fan. You were a little kid watching these movies.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I was a little kid. But I would say that, it was probably by the time I was a teenager. And I think, when I was in high school, the movie Scream came out.
Okay.
Kevin Williamson's Scream. And I remember going that in the theater and being just in love with horror movies. And that was really a turning point for me because it was just that much fun as well as being a scary movie.
My older, just like I'm into comics, I'm into comics and board games. My older brother's into horror movies and motorcycles. We all got our things.
Oh, okay.
So when he was like 16 years old, I was like 10, and he was taking me to the movies. So I mean, we had a tradition every Friday the 13th movies, Halloween. I can't even think, like the Freddy Krueger. We saw them all in the theaters as kids. I like horror movies. People say, "What's your favorite horror movie?" I'm like, I'll talk about comics, but I like horror movies. I don't love horror movies, but I kind of got fascinated with the whole concept of slasher and the Final Girl, and then there's that board game, Final Girl. Have you played that?
No, it's a solo game. I know we talked a little bit about last time. It's definitely been on my list of like, I should play that game. It's definitely in my wheelhouse. I got this one, Mixtape Massacre, which was pretty cool. I
don't. Is that solo only?
No, so Mixtape Massacre is a group. Group playing.
There's another one called Camp Grizzly, but it's like a tongue in cheek. It's like you're the camp counselors and all, and if you play a card that you fool around with the other counselor, then there's points that the creature is gonna, Otis is gonna come after you because he's if you engage in risk, but you get more points. It's not the best game, but if you just want to drink beer and laugh, it's a fun game. But Final Girl, that you sit by yourself, you play some music. If you're interested, watch some of my playthroughs because I talk through the rules.
You've done a Final Girl playthrough. I'm gonna watch.
I've done a few of them, and I just got season 3 today, so I gotta.
You gotta get on that.
I haven't even finished season 1, and these boxes are, huge. I could throw this box at you, knock you unconscious. It's a big, heavy box.
So I'm in. That's a game I've got to try.
Yeah,
Um,
it's right for you, man. If you like comic books, you like horror movies, you like board games, and you set it up in your room where your kids aren't going to bother you.
Did you play this one, John?
Oh, you're pulling out games I never heard of.
So Spire's End. This is an epic, also solo game. Just incredible art. It's card driven. It has such a beautiful art style to it. And solo driven, RPG, like in sort of a whimsical fantasy world. And in this whimsical fantasy world, it's all card driven. And it's a really sort of a special game. It's got a few pieces. It's a little bit more quiet than maybe Final Girl is. But it's one of these solo games that really it kind of takes you someplace, and it surprises you just how kind of
the concept of solo games. I was like, but I don't want to play a solo game because the whole point of games is to be with
not be alone. Yeah,
right. Like a solo game, just go play a video game. That's
right.
But then, what's the name of the game? Captain Nemo. Geez, I can't even think of Adventures of Captain Nemo. It's right over here. Why can't I think of it? But it's something Nemo, and I'm a freak for Captain Nemo. He's one of my favorite, like Captain Kirk, Captain Nemo are like my favorite fictional characters. So it's a game where you're Captain Nemo, and it's got that old style, like 1860s artwork, so it looks like you're looking at old text and you're playing cards and Captain Nemo's going through the sea. You could play that you just want to be an explorer. Like there's different motivations that give you different goals and end game conditions. You could just be like a crazed warrior that you just want to sink every ship. You just want to explore. You want to find science. It is such a good game. But that was my first solo game, and I was like, I can't believe it's so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think they have some merit because I don't like to play video games alone. I would rather read a book or go. And maybe I'm also just somebody that has two.
If I played video games, I would get fired and divorced because I would just do nothing else. Yeah, so I won't let myself. Just like I won't drink, I won't take drugs because I got an addictive personality. Look around. I know
our limitations. I don't smoke or drink either, drugs either. I'm myself too. It's like I'm not confused.
I just know me. I won't stop. You give me a cigarette, I'll be like, "Well, give me another one." Yeah, you know what I mean? Like.
You gotta have some boundaries.
Yeah, so don't start. You got to know yourself.
Yep, I agree with that fully. Did you play this one, Tales from the Loop?
No.
This is so Tales from the Loop is one of the most beautiful games. So this is the RPG book, but I also have up top the the board game of it. It is cool. A fabulous world. It became this actually was an RPG game, if you can imagine. It became a television series on Amazon that you can watch with Jonathan Pryce. It's amazing, but it's you can look at this beautiful art. It's essentially this world that's it's in this Scandinavian country, and it's modern day, but imagine robots have showed up and awakened, so you get like this sort of retro Goonies flavor, but with monstrous robots.
Kind of like Scythe. Have you ever played Scythe?
That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. Yep.
Scythe is like the 1890s Russia with mechs.
It's that same kind of vibe, but like 1980s with mechs, right?
Yeah.
And absolutely fabulous role-playing game and board game. It's that same company, Free League, that did the Alien game. I think they're one of the best out there.
See, I'm incredible again. If I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound because you saw what I did with Marvel United.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
I hope my wife's not watching, but it's $700 I pledged on Kickstarter, to get everything. And then DC United, just everything was $700. My wife's, but anyway, so that's how I do. So I purposely cut things out now. You know what I mean? So the only role-playing game, literally the only role-playing game I played in 30 years is Villains Vigilantes. So I play Villains Vigilantes and I use it in a fantasy setting. I use it in a sci-fi setting. So I know those rules. I almost have the all the charts memorized. I've been playing it for 40 years. And my comic is inspired by Villains Vigilantes. And I contacted the owner of Fantasy Games Unlimited, and he gave me his blessing. So like if you get my comic, you get these cards of my characters, and then on the back, I put the Village Vigilantes logo and do their stats. So you can, you know what I mean? So I purposely avoid other role-playing games, because if I got into 5th edition, I would have to buy everything for 5th edition, you know, and I would have to memorize every rule, you know, and I would have to rewrite all my sheets. And I got like a stack of binders like this, you know what I mean? So I'm crazy person, Adam, is what I'm saying.
You gotta understand what you are, and you set some.
I know me. Physician, know thyself, or heal thyself. You know.
I get it.
Says these shows make me poor. Today when I was playing Marvel United, some guy in the chat said, "John, you just cost me $20." He goes, and it's $60 for the Fantastic Four expansion. So I'm like, you don't have to buy things because I play them on YouTube.
I know, but that's how it gets to be. Is you start looking at them, you start reading reviews, and you're like, wait. And you know, I mean, see, like that's what, you know, with children on the new book.
Wednesday, I just had a guy on my channel, and I bought his book. You know, it's about the Jamaican ska scene, the birth of the Jamaican. I love the Jamaican ska scene, so I was like, I got to get your book. You know.
No, I get it. I love it. I mean, I have too many to read. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I love to make them so much as well. I mean, I love to make them.
If my comic makes it somewhere around issue 6 or 7, I would like to do a role playing game. So I'll be hitting you up for advice.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, John. Be happy.
Or even hiring you to help me out. You know.
Yeah, no, I love, you know, building an RPG is quite an endeavor, and it's awesome. But it is quite an endeavor, and I'm happy to talk you through it.
Cool. Because I already have a concept of how I want it to work.
Yeah.
But, you know, that doesn't mean that's...
See, the play testing in an RPG is, you know, 5x what it is in a board game. It's so much more play testing. So much. It's bizarre because there's a lot less money in them, and yet they require significantly more time to build and make them amazing. So they're an interesting thing,
right?
To say the least, because they require so much more R&D, because you're now dealing with worlds, and you know, the complexity really compounds. And I think I always wanted that with the Kill Journal as well too. I'd done some designs on a board game for it as well.
I was just about to ask you, did you ever design a board game?
Yes. So that's, you know, because that was kind of always my heart, was to do these. So I did this book, the 8th and the Asunder, and was launching this publishing company. And then my business partner got involved in crypto and another commercial endeavor, and then I got involved in another commercial endeavor. And we just didn't have the sort of the bandwidth anymore to really build this out, even though we spent a ton of dough and, you know, did it at a very high level. If you go to giftedrebels.com, and the products are still available, but really taking it to market like it should be. And that was always in the pipeline. I'd built an early design of the game. And what I loved about this is my new book, Psycho Slumber. The idea of it is it's like, okay, great, this could be the core game. And then a new comic would come out. I did another one about Finch or Psycho Slumber. And then you could play that. You could read that comic, and then you could play that expansion, right? That was around, because you could make each expansion around hunting a certain revenant, right? And the story that came into that experience. And I loved that idea in the game, and so that you could broaden it out, and then you could
make little modules for it, or, you know,
exactly,
play little story. That's what Final Girl does, you know. It's you know, you could go to the campsite and fight the Jason, you know, ripoff. You could go to the house and try not to sleep so the Freddy Krueger ripoff doesn't get you. You know,
that's right.
And I can't help it. I'm looking at the games above you. That's 5 tribes directly above your head, right?
It's 5 tribes. That's one of the best.
I love that game. What is the green one? It's killing me that I can't figure out the green one.
Okay, the green one up top that's Terror in Meeple City.
It is Terror in Meeple. I was gonna say that. I swear to God, because I have it as Rampage. And I'm like,
so you have a copy of that. I had a copy of that as well too. But I have Terror in Meeple City up there, and then I have one of my favorite games, Everdell, up there.
Oh, Everdell is great.
A great game. The expansions have been incredible.
I got the gigantic box over here that's like you could bury your children in the size of this box. and the tree is a big wooden solid tree, and it's got all the expansions. I'm not joking. I spent an entire weekend. Like I would wake up, have my coffee, putting stickers on all of the meeples and everything. And I haven't played this yet. I haven't. It's got the gold point. Everdell is a cute, guys. If your wife doesn't want to play a board game, play Everdell.
That's right.
Every card has a cute little badger on it or a cute little whatever chipmunk on it.
That's the thing is my wife. That's the game we play the most. That's
Right.
the one we play. We play it with family. It's really that and Skull King. But that game, Everdell, has gotten the most amount of play in my current life because it's appealing to kind of everybody in all ages, but it's wildly fun.
It's a fun game. And when you explain the rules to people, they're gonna look at you like, huh?
You're like, how's this? This is gonna be like 2 turns and then it's over. This doesn't make any sense.
Like this makes no sense. This doesn't even seem like a game. And then after about 2 turns, everybody's like, oh, okay.
This is cool. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
It is a really clever game. I sometimes I wonder how people like that game. How did anybody think of that? It's easy.
That's good game design. That's good game design. That's for sure.
Have you played Root?
Oh no, I haven't played Root.
Oh my God, Root is it's little woodland creatures. It's little meeples. The art is charming, but don't be mistaken. It is a war game. It is a freaking war game. It's the cute little woodland animals all fighting for war, and you could play up to like 8 players, and each player is playing a completely different game. If you're the beavers, you're merchants, and you're not fighting. You're just selling everybody. You want weapons? Here's weapons over here, and you want to get as much money. If you're the cats, you are the industrial military complex. You chopping down the forest, building armies. If you're the birds, you're playing this program game that you have to follow a total program. I can't even describe how different each game is. If you're the vagabond, you're just like little happy wanderer, just going around, doing little missions and everything like that. It's totally asymmetric to the point it is the most difficult game to teach. And the first time you play the game, people are gonna be like, I hate this game. No, keep playing. But by the third time you play, I'm like, this is my favorite game. It's my problem. I love it so much, but nobody wants to play with me. So if you get it on Steam, it's wonderful. It's one of the best Steam games. It's one of the few games. But anyway,
No, I totally get it. I mean, that's what we wanted to do, was to geek out right on all the board games and the narrative storytelling of it. But yeah, that's what I had hoped with Kill Journal, and that like the book Cycle Slumber. And on Kickstarter now you can get the Doug Mankey cover for the book, which I loved because Doug, I'm such a fan of his work, right? And he built such a beautiful cover for the world of the Kill Journal. And I thought, you built this incredibly beautiful asset, right? Of the art that's in there and et cetera. And how can then you like get to interact with it and live with it, because a reading is such a solitary, and then gaming makes it interactive, right? And it's like, you want to interact with that art in some way. And so that was always the dream, like you said. And but it's maybe someday, John, maybe someday there will be.
How old are your children? Are they too young to play any of this stuff with you?
I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So,
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's very
you can play Risk with the 1-year-old. Come on, toughen that kid up.
Get him into this. Twilight Imperium, get that on the table.
I don't care if you got to change your diaper. It's your turn.
It's your turn. You got to go.
Yeah. I mean, my friend Jimmy's coming over tomorrow with his daughter and the fiance. Will play an Arkham Horror. You know what I mean? Like he is gonna come. He's gonna be smiling all day long. He's playing, Arkham Horror with his daughter and his daughter's. It's funny because he was just like, we're playing Arkham Horror with the fiance. What if he doesn't like board games? He goes, then he ain't marrying my daughter.
Well, that solves that.
I would go to my I have no exaggeration, 50 nieces and nephews. I'm one of 7 kids. I'm the only one in my family without kids. So like, we'll go far away for Thanksgiving and spend 4 days. I bring duffel bags of board games. We all eat, we all do this, we all have our coffee, and then we'll have like 12 kids around a table playing. Have you ever? What's the name of that freaking game now?
I have 33 nieces and nephews. I'm one of 6, so I get it.
Oh, do you play with them? Do they play board games with you at all?
Yes, and they play board games and role-playing games with me.
Oh, that's great.
It's a pure joy. I'm curious though, John. I know that we're coming to the end, but like, I'm always curious what the stack that you have on your desk, because there's always like, the stack of singles. Well, if you want to get into that game, it gets ugly. It's real ugly because I got this stack over there.
Yeah, there you go.
I got that right there.
You know what that means to me? That means you're a comic book fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when people talk to me about comic books, I'm like, well, where's your unread piles? Like, what do you mean you unread? Amateur.
Yeah, amateur.
I'm down to 16 boxes. At one point, I had 20 boxes of comics that I haven't read yet, but I condensed them down. There was too much space. I got them down to 16 comics that I haven't read yet.
Well, I try to read as much as I can, right. And but this is like I'll get through this stack. This week I always fit them in, and I like my sons to see me reading for joy.
Right. Yeah. This is 3 days worth of reading.
Yeah.
And the only reason why it's not as much is I'm doing my 30 OSHA online.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I'm getting. Did you read this Nemesis Rogues Gallery?
Is that's Mark? It's funny that you said that.
It's Mark Millar, I think one of the greatest creators in modern comics.
It's funny that you said that because this is phenomenal. Evil Eye by Richard Sala. Brian Bauer recommended this to me, and it is so good. It's so bizarre. I've never read anything like it. His art is so good. He got me into this, and then I bought the comic. I was talking to him about it, and then he's like, "Yeah, it's a shame he died 3 years ago." And I got like all teary-eyed because I just fell in love with the guy's work, and then found out he was dead. But this is a 12 issues on Fantagraphics. You could just buy the collected on Fantagraphics.
What's that name again on that?
Evil Eye. It's 2 stories.
Evil Eye. I'm sending that message back to you. Evil Eye. Evil Eye. Are you doing The Moon is Following Us, Daniel Warren Johnson?
What is it?
The Moon is Following Us? Are you a Daniel Warren Johnson fan?
Yeah, he did that Murder Falcon, right?
Murder Falcon, that's top 10, a personal top 10. It's a masterpiece. Extremity is incredible. Do a power bomb, just a kick-ass, one of the greats. Mark Millar is a legend. I love
Mark Millar. I don't know if you know, because me and you just found each other a couple weeks ago. Mark Millar was on my channel a couple months ago in July.
And Mark Millar is one of the greats.
Like, I'll give you 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Because I think I'm speculating. I think he wants to maybe get into crowdfunding or something. So Valerie D'Orzio said, go on my friend John's Longbox channel. So he's like, okay, I'll give him 15 minutes. We talked for 2 hours. Just like talking. So he just messaged me because I'm going to come back in April. Is that okay? I was like, is that okay? So I'm rereading all of his stuff and filling in the gaps of stuff that I didn't read. He is.
I've read all of his stuff. In fact, I just had finished this last trade here, King of Spies.
Yeah,
it's just like a pleasure. He's a master. I love that he's working with Narwhal, on this Vatican City book.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That concept on that is incredible, and what a hell of a guy. And like, man of the people, like, he's amazing. He's like coming on small creators streams, and then he's out with Matthew Vaughn. You know what I mean? Making big movies. It's like he's insane. He's really a special.
Here's
guy.
The thing: is he loves comics.
That's what I mean. He that's exactly right.
He loves comics. He doesn't get involved in drama. He wants to talk comics. It's funny because after he was on my channel, he was like, "Hey, John, give me a link to all your best conversations." So like, he was like, "Jim Shooter was on your channel." Walt Simonson's, you know what I mean? So
Shooter is a legend. Yeah.
So he loves comics. And you mentioned Narwhal. Narwhal reached out to me. He's like, me, him, and Jason Sandberg are going to start doing like a comic book review show.
Oh, dude, count me in.
And I keep saying to Narwhal, you ready? You ready? Because this is fun for me. This isn't a chore.
Yeah, you have to be going through a lot of material, and not everybody's reading a ton. But The Moon is Following Us. It's amazing. It's a husband and wife whose daughter has fallen asleep and is trapped with this dream virus is now killing her. And they have to slip into her dream world. It's a little a la Inception, and defeat this virus inside of her dream. Brilliant. Precious Metal. Did you do this one, dude? Ian Bertram. You're a Mobius fan, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say it looks like a Mobius comic on the cover.
This is Mobius of the modern world. This guy's art.
What's it called again?
It's called Precious Metal.
Wow.
It's a follow-up to a book called Little Bird, but you can read this all on its own. Ian Bertram and Matt Hollingsworth, who I think is one of the great colorists in our business. This is, I think, his greatest work. I mean, it's just like every page you're like, how is this happening? How is it this good? How is it this good? Page after page. And yes, so Mobius.
It's funny. Me and you just messaged me back, evil eyed. So
yes, exactly. I gotta get that.
Yeah, you got to remember.
Seasons, Rick Remender. I love everything Rick does. I'll give everything Rick does. I'll give everything Rick does a try. Everything Rick Remender does, I'll give it a try.
Fear Agent was my first exposure to him. Something about Fear Agent. I remember seeing that comic book with the big eyeball, like in a brain with the tentacles. I was just like, all right, I got to get every issue of this comic.
And Tony Moore, I think that duo was just like the best ever been. Dust to Dust, the J.G. Jones book, also under Rick Remender's banner, Giant Generator, amazing. Godzilla Heist, I've gotten to check this one out. It's like a heist story with this really cool art style centered around a Godzilla attack.
Wow.
Yeah. Minor Arcana. Are you a Jeff Lemire fan?
Yes. I picked up mine. One of the things I do is I'll pick up one issue of a comic as a reminder, make sure I get this. So I think I have like issue 3 and I got to get the rest of them.
Yeah. Minor Arcana. And then Stand Still. This has been a really interesting Lee Luffridge. He's the colorist turned writer. Unusual, but boy, this has been a fun ride. It seems like a classic story of a guy who can do some time traveling, but it's got a lot more layers and complexity to it. This has been wildly fun. Wildly fun. And then my last one was this Cam Girl from AWA. It's a one-shot. I like AWA. I think they occasionally do some cool stuff.
Don't they do Gun Honey?
I don't know if that's AWA. I know they do Ribbon Queen.
They do Ribbon Queen. Yes, I picked that up.
I don't know Gun Honey well enough to say the publisher. Anyways, that's my stack. You know, that's my short box, not my long box. That's the short box
of stuff that you just read. Yeah, mine is more older comics. Like, you know, I'm sure. Like I was talking about this Beyond Real. They just sent me issue number 1.
I think it's pretty good. I thought it was pretty good.
This was a crowdfunded comic. Unbreakable. I just love it because it's like World War II style superheroes. You know, he's a small creator from Ireland. You know, crowdfunding. Actually, Unbreakable Argonauts. I really, really liked it. You know, some old Marvels. I was showing this when you popped in. You know, Brigade. You know, but what else is interesting in here? I'm the only person that liked this series.
What's that?
J.H. Williams Batwoman from DC.
Yeah, I didn't do it. You know, the only DC title I'm doing right now is Absolute Batman.
This is 2011, I think. This
but Absolute Batman, Snyder's. I tried Absolute Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Superman didn't care for it, but Wonder Woman I liked, and Absolute Batman I have loved.
Red Coat,
I enjoyed it. I've been enjoying Ghost Machine.
I'm getting everything Ghost Machine. And
Jason
then
favorite art on
Close
Exodus.
Encounters. This was I don't know why, just tickled my fancy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Marvel Super Special from 1977. This is the official comic book.
Incredible.
I was like, oh my god! It's funny as I'm reading the comic, I'm like, wait a minute, the girl in Close Encounters is the mother from Christmas Story. You know, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. I never made that connection until I read the comic book. Like I quit Marvel and DC in 2015, just cold turkey. And you know, when you're into something for so long, it was like emotional. I know people make fun of me for that, but I was like, I felt like lost, and I was like angry. And then I discovered all these crowdfunded comics. So I'm glad that you showed.
That's what I felt too. It's like that since I stepped away from crowdfunded books, I stepped away from the big two, except for Absolute Batman, like you're saying. Occasionally I'll grab something. I'm actually just so much happier because there is such a breadth of so many amazing stories out there, writers, creators doing unique stories. And you're like, and that's kind of like what I love manga as well too, because it's the same thing. It's like so many fresh new things that it's like, hey Eric, that's a good man there.
Yeah, Eric's a good guy too. I totally understand what Eric's saying. I missed the Fantastic Four, so I I bought I bought a year's worth of Fantastic Four from 2016 because I collected up to 2015 just because I missed them.
Thanks, Crenshaw.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I agree. You missed something, and that's
Crenshaw,
why.
I have to stop saying hello. Hey, good Crenshaw, good guy too. Yeah.
So that's why I had to pick up Absolute Batman. I love Snyder. I think he's done wonderful work over the years. I love him. That's one of the best horror comics ever. And great guy. Scott Snyder's such a positive influence online, and just like what a cool guy. And I miss Batman, so I'll give it a go. And
how are you said you didn't particularly like the Superman Absolutes?
Yeah, I did. I shouldn't say it is not because Jason Aaron, who I think Scalped is one of the great comic books. It's not that he's not talented. It's just the storyline just didn't. I just read it and went, and then didn't think about it again, right? And like the Wonder Woman one was a little bit more like a step up from that. Like I thought the idea of this one, like Wonder Woman was born in hell, and it's just she like sort of crawled her way out of hell into the modern world, and like her Pegasus was like an undead version. It was pretty cool. I liked it. Kelly Thompson was doing something cool there. But then Snyder's Absolute Batman, the way he reimagined him as like a poor kid, and like the way he built his suit with like the ears come off his blades and like the bat symbol on his chest. He has a little attachment and it breaks off and becomes a battle axe.
I'm at the point where it's just like so Batman is a poor guy who builds like armor. Then that's a different character. If at what point is Superman not Superman? Like I don't know. Like is he still from Krypton? Is he still?
Yeah. So he's still all the same things still happen, but his dad had this instance where he, instead of deciding to become a physician, he became a teacher, right? And so it's a slight nod. His parents were still killed in the alley. He still lost. He still so much of the same story, but experienced it in a different way.
Okay.
And once again, is that a different character? It's probably, it's changed it quite a bit. But what Scott Snyder's done with it and like the enemy he's built is really exciting. It was very exciting to me.
Okay.
So once again, you're reimagining an old character, so it's only what that is, right? But I think it certainly stayed true to the essence of what Batman is.
I look at the movie, like look at the Eternals, for example. Like
that just didn't even have the essence anymore.
Right. They reimagined the Eternals, and I'm just like, well, then not the Eternals. So like and again, I'm not arguing with you. You like what you like, and I'm glad you like it. But I just never gave the Absolute line a try because like, oh, we're reimagining. To me, that just means that ain't Superman.
And that's a
good Superman story that he is the inspiration and hope.
Absolutely.
I
agree with you. He's very messianic. He's a special character. I agree with you. When you sort of flip somebody's origin around, it's okay for people to say, "Hey, it's not for me." And I agree. In general, I don't love it either. This take just worked for me, but I wouldn't say that it always does. And I can.
What is that creepy picture down there with the face and the lines coming out of it to your elbow?
This one.
Yeah. What is that on the ground back there?
Oh yeah. So this is a painting.
Okay, it is a painting
from Escape the Night, my TV series. I was a TV showrunner for a long time. And in it was one of the mysteries that they had to solve. And in it, the painting slides away, and there's a secret compartment inside of it. And it was part of a clue that they had to crack, right? You see, because the painting slides out, and there's a compartment inside.
So that was actual prop on the show?
Actual prop from the show, yeah.
Cool.
No, season 2.
Did you ever play a game? Do you ever play a board game called Time Stories?
I didn't play this game called Time Stories.
Time Stories is you're from the future and you send like your mental patterns back in time and you inhabit other people. So the first scenario, you just wake up in an asylum and it's like the 1920s and you're in an asylum and you have to solve a mystery. And it is unbelievable. You're all playing it. It's a cooperative game, so we're all playing. And you got everything you do uses time, and when you end up the time, you wake back up and you either solve it or you don't. It's like a mystery room board game, but it is unbelievable what they could do with the board game and simple cards and a couple of pawns. And they have a whole series. The next one is the 80s. I don't want to spoil it. Then the French Revolution. There's one in ancient Egypt. And supposedly at the end they all tie together into one story. But you just reminded me of that when you got to, because that happens in the game. There's a card.
Okay. It was the cool thing because in my show, Escape the Night, the actors had to solve real puzzles and clues as part of the story. And it was by way of sort of gamifying television. It was really exciting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I wrote and directed 4 seasons.
Tom Battle of the Dice Tower they had a comedy reality show called Above Board. Did that were you involved with that? And is it?
I wasn't involved in it. Wish I had been, but I wasn't. But yeah, no, I know. I wasn't involved in that. I did Will Wheaton's Tabletop. I did, excuse me, was my big thing. I did Spell Slingers also too with Magic the Gathering. I did Force Grey with Dungeons and Dragons and Matthew Mercer. And then we also did Titan's Grave, also again with Will Wheaton.
Right.
And so sort of slew in that world. But
so I know you got to. I know you got to go, and I know I said this to you already, but I 100% tabletop was a very important thing to me. I was into board games, and I remember somebody said, "Oh, Will Wheaton's doing this thing on YouTube," and I was just like, "What a stupid idea!" And I kind of watched the first episode, and I was like, "I like this." I was like, you get like a guilty pleasure, but I was like the biggest. I sent away for like there was like a tabletop day with Will Wheaton cards to put into other games like Smash Up and everything. I bought that. I rented out like the back of a restaurant. We all play games. It was a lot of fun. I really. So thank you for that. That was awesome. I missed it.
I miss it too. Will and I talk about it all the time. We've tried multiple times to restart it. It's complicated with Legendary and copyright and etc. But he loved it with all of our hearts. 4 years of our lives, that was our thing, and sort of meant everything to us at the time. And I loved it, and I'm so glad, John, that there are people like you that had that impact from it. And I think that I run into that more and more. In fact, the more and more television and commercials and films that I have made, I still don't ever get the same fan reaction as I do get from that show. Like the way it connected, even though I've been on shows that have won Academy Awards, and but that one still resonates. Just deep in people's hearts.
I think it was the kind of thing. If you watched it, you loved it.
That's right. That's right.
Like people didn't casually watch it. They watched it and they loved it. That's the way it was with at least that was with me and my group. It was an event. Oh, this tabletop new season's coming out. We were like already looking at the board games that you were playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes. So what I'm saying is you owe me a couple of $1,000 for all the games you made me buy. No, it was great. It was great. I really enjoyed it. But I know you got to go, and I got another show at 8:30. So anything that I can give you a chance to say? Anything you want to pitch?
No, just back the Kill Journal, the Psycho Slumber. The street. You can get on Kickstarter. You get the Doug Mankey cover. You can get on Indiegogo with the Rob Willis cover. It's awesome. It's a 60-page one-shot. The art's all done. Lettering's almost all complete, and it'll be shipping out in April. It's a beautiful book. It's all the things I love about great storytelling. Traumatic characters, horror, adventure, all packed into one. And we deliver quick, so it'll be cool.
Excellent. Please come back, man. This is a lot of fun. I only scratched the surface. I could talk to you for hours.
I know we only have just touched the iceberg.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. See you. Bye-bye. See you, everybody.